So in the last class, our basic concentration was on just to check the basic steps that are existing as far as your development of an application is concerned. Okay. Now you should be very specifically active in your chat box so that I can just catch up whether you're following me along with the process or not. Okay. Because for especially first time beginners, we'll be getting introduced with the technical standards now. Okay. Slowly we are moving into Oracle's fundamental construct of how we need to understand the databases with Oracle. So if you're not keeping yourself active into the chat box, then I can just never understand whether you're following me through the process or not. So when you say that you're developing one database application, now I don't think any database application can be just happening in a very simple way. There are multiple number of things that are fundamentally happening in the process. You just try to follow through the next part of the flow what I'm trying to show you. Okay. We said like we are having stage one, which is fundamentally confirming that this particular stage one is taking the constructive responsibility of creating structures. Now, where these structures are representing through the process of creating a tables and indexes, I'm going more elaborate to the previous diagram just to make ourselves understand some more things with respect to the application development process. Now, these tables and indexes, once they are fundamentally created, the stage two is actually beginning. Where the stage two is nothing but which is fundamentally trying to tell you that you need to create your alternate names. And these alternate names, as far as your Oracle is concerned, you are creating them in the construct and composition of your synonyms. Now, once your synonyms are fundamentally created, then your stage three will begin. Where your stage three is basically nothing but you are just trying to design and develop the construction composition of your particular views. That is nothing but logically you want to make the environment to get ready. So you're creating logical tables. Now, what are tables and what are logical tables? These all things we'll understand in the coming level of the sessions. Let us not worry. Now, these logical tables, as far as your Oracle is concerned, they are created in the form of views. Now, using these views, we most of the time try to control the entire application for giving different perspectives to the people for accessing the data. So that control should be there. That control is given in stage 4, where your stage 4 is basically nothing but you're giving the privilege management. Okay, planning the database security. Now the database security is totally planned with the help of the grant and revoke statements. These all compositions together, they are applied onto your Oracle database. Okay, all these activities are happening on your Oracle database, and these all criteria, the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, what you're trying to see, these all stages will come under the criteria of your physical database environment, which is practically implemented through one language, what you're going to learn, that is called as SQL Star Plus. So if anybody is asking you why you are learning SQL Star Plus, now I think the answer is very clear. Is that flow is clear to you? Now, once we design these 4 stages, is the whole project is completed? No. Your responsibility to the SQL side is completed, but every particular business application has dynamics. Do you agree with me? And these dynamics can be provided by situation of the business only through programming. Now that is the area where your next level of the responsibility starts with operational procedures, functions, and packages have to be designed by us. And this entire environment, whatever you're developing, should be technically in integration with, the security that is planned at your database side with your SQL Star Plus. And at the same time, it will be communicating with your logical tables called as views and your alternate names called as synonyms. And all this particular process is basically developed, and this process is called as business operational layer, or business operational environment, which is basically building your logical or business tire with PLSQL. Our language, what we are going to use in this area is PLSQL. So if I am going to start with PLSQL after some time, I think now it's very clear agenda for us to understand why we are going to work with PLSQL. Am I clear with you? And this particular PLSQL, whatever you are trying to develop, will be having a collection of callable statements, where these callable statements can be either procedures, functions, and packages with parameter validations, end user verifications, session management, network security, data encryption, format validation, connection pooling, data pooling, whatever kind of criteria you say that they are essential, we need to develop them using these particular middle layer business tier application, where any language can be used in the world here. The language what we are trying to use as far as our contract is PLSQL, which is a procedural language to make your SQL look more dynamic by its nature. But one thing what you should always understand is you cannot really catch up and you can take the advantage of your PLSQL unless and until you're not having the greatest control with your SQL. And after all this process is developed and the business application dynamics are ready, then the system will be integrated. Okay, your next level of the construct where this PLSQL also can communicate with your database. With your Oracle database server, it can communicate. And all this should be presented in a wonderful way to the end user. That presentation architecture is the one that is planned in the next level, where that presentation environment, what you are planning, is called as a front-end interface or user interface environment, where these user interface environments can be developed in any kind of technology that is existing in the world. It can be Java, it can be Python, it can be PHP, whatever you feel like. So you should just understand one thing: when learning your SQL and your PLSQL is more important, or learning the process with which your SQL and PLSQL will be operating, and exactly whichever responsibility is given to you, picking up the responsibility and giving the constructive outputs is more important. Try to understand. Everybody in the world can learn SQL and PLSQL, not only you. But very few people can confidently come and make themselves comfortable to participate in the project application development and give solutions. Other than that, front-end development, all the remaining things are our responsibilities in this particular course. If I am saying that I'm conducting Oracle with you, starting from SQL Star Plus to PLSQL, every one of the constructs that are integrated over there, we have experience by the time we complete our sessions. For doing all these things, don't you think that your Oracle database should be very consistent and it should have a very wonderful storage format? Do you agree with me? So what is your Oracle's storage format now? So let us just try to understand your Oracle style for data storage. Okay, how exactly your Oracle is storing the data actually, let us try to understand. Now, first time beginners, I just want absolute concentration from you. Few things, even if you're not immediately able to catch and get yourself into the expertise, don't worry. But first, catch the compositions. Are you getting me? Now, I just want some answers from you as I'm going down through the process. We are saying that any kind of business application is a collection of logical and physical structures. Do you agree with me? So these all logical and physical structures should be part of the Oracle database. What Oracle says is Oracle's fundamental principle is all the logical structures that are existing in the database must be stored within the Oracle database only. Means if any of your logical structures are kept outside your Oracle's database environment and you want to operate on those logical structures, Oracle will never give you permission. So anything what Oracle feels that it is a logical structure, that logical structure should be registered and it should be configured as part of your Oracle database. That's the first point you should remember. Now, one database can contain only logical structures or only physical structures or both. What is your opinion? Both. Now, these logical structures of Oracle, they can be used by only one particular developer and one end user, or many number of developers and many end users. Many. Now, when many number of people are accessing your Oracle's logical and physical data structures, how Oracle knows which structure belongs to which particular end user by which particular application? Because all of these structures are within the Oracle database now. Therefore, Oracle internally maintains a data dictionary which records metadata about all the database objects. So once you install and configure your Oracle, it creates its own metadata, which is also called as data dictionary. Within this data dictionary or the metadata, Oracle registers all your logical and physical structures by the criteria of the ownership to which they belong to. Now, an object is a collection of data. Do you agree with me? Now, when an object is a collection of data, then technically you should always understand one point. This particular data needs some space on your computer to occupy. Am I correct? Now, whenever you occupy the space, that space is either in the RAM or it is in the hard disk. Am I correct? Now, this RAM and hard disk are generally under the control of operating system. Now, anything in the control of the operating system, if I can get connected to operating system, then I think I can access that particular data now. Do you agree with me? But when your Oracle is keeping the data in the objects and these objects are occupying the space and the space is part of your RAM or select your hard disk, then just imagine this hard disk and RAM, if they are in the control of OS, if I directly go to OS and if I access the data, it is secured or insecure? It is insecure. Then how Oracle will try to come out of this particular issue? So whenever you're working with the Oracle database, every database object, please catch my words very carefully. Every database object within your Oracle's environment, which needs physical storage space for keeping its data in the computer system, this space is allocated in Oracle with a special kind of object called as table space. Okay, within your Oracle database, we have one special kind of object called as table space, and under this object called as table space, Oracle will try to store the data. So for you and me or anybody who is an Oracle developer, we will try to see the data getting stored in the table space. Now this table space internally is storing the data to the files and all these things as immaterial for us. But one thing you should remember, a database developer or an application developer or any end user in Oracle will always get the space for their physical state of the objects within one special kind of object called as table space. Therefore, one general question, if you keep your resume as Oracle developer, you can always face is, can you tell me what is exactly a table space in Oracle database? This is one expected question. So the simple point you should always say is, table space is a logical storage unit stored within the Oracle database as an object. Okay, for every Oracle developer, table space is one logical storage unit. Means we will store the data in table spaces. Therefore, at different levels of your experience, you find people speaking in different terms for storage. A normal developer will say, I will store the data in tables. A fundamental user who is only operating with database as an end user will say, I'm storing my data in my user. A DBA or a database administrator will say, I'm storing my data in table spaces. According to perspective, people will use these terms. But finally, your data, what you're having with respect to your database application, as far as Oracle is concerned, will be stored within one logical storage unit called as table spaces. Am I clear with you? Now, this table space will have the data, but the beauty is this table space is not visible physically in the file system of the machine. Means within the operating system, if you go and search for table space, you cannot find the table space. So table space is only accessible through Oracle. Therefore, if anybody wants to see the table spaces within the operating system, within the file system of that machine, these table spaces are not visible. Because your table spaces are not visible physically within the operating system, they are secured or they are not secured now. They are secured. Now your data is having privacy or it's not having privacy now. It's having privacy from the OS directly. Are you getting me? So between your Oracle's database environment and your operating system, that is nothing but your file system, table space is actually the object that is building the bridge. Therefore, table space builds the bridge between the Oracle database and the file system. So no database developer or the end user can communicate with the operating system's file system directly after Oracle has been installed and you're developing any application through Oracle. So you will connect to Oracle. Oracle will make you connect to table space. Table space will connect to operating system. Operating system will connect to the device, and device is having the data in the form of files. Is it a multi-layer security or single layer security now? Multi-layer security for your entire data. Now, within the operating system, if we want to store the data, we should store the data in which form? Tell me. It's just not OS. Within your computer, if you want to store your data, you should always store your data in which form? We can store the data in only file format. Am I correct? In the form of files. Files are always under the control of OS. Now, anybody who knows the commands of operating system, they can access the files or not? Yes. Now, if your Oracle is saying that it is storing the data, can any software in the world can store the data within your computer? I'm making my words very clear. Can any software in the world can store the data within your computer without following the format of the files that are provided by OS? Is it possible? Definitely not. So can Oracle store any data against to OS? No. So Oracle also should follow the file mechanisms only. Am I correct? But if I store my data in the form of files, my data will directly get into the operating system, and operating system will store the data in the hardware, and through OS I can access the data. So my data is becoming insecure. So what actually Oracle does, you watch, Oracle will create one object, one logical object called as table space in your database, and that table space is synchronized to your OS. And this table space, a single table space, can contain one or more number of data files that are encapsulated. A single table space consists of one or more number of data files of the database, where these files cannot be directly accessed from the operating system, because you're creating these particular files with the instructional commands executed from Oracle upon your table spaces, and these table spaces will bind to these particular files which are part of the OS. Therefore, if anybody wants to touch these files from operating system, it never ever allows anybody to touch these particular files directly. So you should always remember one thing: as far as your Oracle database is concerned, a data file should always become part of one table space at a time. Okay, you if you say that you're having any file that is basically managing Oracle's data, it should be under the control of one table space. Without the control of the table space, no file in Oracle database can ever exist. Am I clear? Try to understand that. So one table space can contain many number of data files, but one data file should always be connected to only one table space. Okay, you cannot divide one data file into multiple table spaces. So indirectly, as a developer, if I'm talking to my table is communicating with table space. My table space is communicating with the data file. Data file is communicating with the OS along with the hardware where it should exist. Therefore, if anybody wants to access the data in Oracle database directly, it is never possible unless and until you do not have proper permissions to all these objects that are existing in Oracle database. On the highest level, Oracle has three types of table spaces. Okay, there are three types of table spaces at the highest level in Oracle environment. The first type of table space is called as permanent table space. The name itself is telling you what it is. In simple, if I'm speaking, permanent table spaces are nothing but which contain persistent schema objects. Means everything you feel that it should be permanent in your database, all that particular piece of the data, you will try to keep them into permanent table space. So there are different kinds of objects that are basically made to become part of the permanent table spaces, and internally these table spaces are connected to data files which will actually store the data. The second kind of table spaces is undo table space. The name itself is telling you, when we do some operations in Oracle, we will try to operate with some huge amount of data. In such cases, certain times what happens is, I need this particular piece of the data to be available for certain amount of time, and after that automatically it should be cancelled. So actually, to be frank enough, undo table spaces are also one kind of permanent table spaces only. But these undo table spaces are used for internal runtime requirement of your Oracle database in automatic undo management mode. This automatic undo management mode is actually configured by your DBAs. Try to understand that. Okay. So when you deal with your undo table spaces are basically something like your undo records, where exactly you will have undo data and undo records. All this undo data and undo records data will get into this undo table spaces. So when I take you into my concepts of transactions, you'll understand, but just casual terminology, when you're doing rollback transactions, implementing a rollback statement, whenever you're trying to do some recovery of your database, okay, whenever I'm recovering my database, the data till it is getting recovered, it will be maintained in this particular undo table spaces. Once your entire recovery is completed, then the data will be eliminated automatically. Now, the third kind of table space you have in your Oracle is called as temporary table space, which is generally misunderstood by majority of the beginners as temporary table space and undo table space are same. No. Now, when you deal with temporary table spaces, they are basically for storing the temporary data that is existing only when your database session is running. Only to the relevance of the session, whatever kind of data you're managing temporarily, the data will go to the temporary table spaces. Temporary table space is used to improve the performance and concurrency of multiple sort operations which cannot actually fit in the memory. Means when I'm doing very huge amount of data sorting, you cannot expect all the data to be fit into your RAM. Then these temporary table spaces are used by Oracle to manage such kind of constructs. So temporary table spaces can be shared by multiple database users for the sake of implementing performance oriented aspects upon the database operations. There's a great lot of huge technical debate on these kind of table space at database administration side, but we are not into the contract of DBA. But at least that minimum information, what I'm just trying to provide, you need to just catch up. Okay. So now let us have a very fair idea how actually the rule of the system is getting developed. Now I want one answer from you. Once your computer is assembled and it's ready, if you want to really start and operate your computer, you need what? A proper operating system. Do you agree with me? A proper operating system. So upon your computer, if I'm not wrong, the first set of environment that is applied is OS. Do you agree with me? Now, without installing and configuring OS, can we install and configure any other database or any other softwares in your OS, in your computer? No. So, database management system software like Oracle is also in the same criteria. Therefore, after your operating system has been installed and configured, the next component that will be installed and configured is your database management system software. According to our class, it is your Oracle's SQL, Star Plus and PLSQL. So before we start implementing or operating Oracle database, we should have a very proper database management. Sorry, we should have a very proper operating system. Do you agree with me? Now within your Oracle and within your Oracle's database management system software, everything you manage should become a database object in your Oracle. So everything you keep in your Oracle database is actually what? Come on. Everything you keep in your Oracle database is actually what? It is a database object. Okay, it is one kind of object. Because it is part of the Oracle database, we call it as database object. Okay, general term. Now, after your Oracle database management system software is installed and configured, then only you can develop your application, or you can develop your application before that also. Tell me. Database application can be developed only after the DBMS is installed. Okay, only after your database management system is installed. So the next component that comes into the picture is what now? The next component is nothing but into these database objects that are part of your Oracle database management system software. We are collecting the business data with the help of a language called as SQL star plus and PLSQL. Now using this SQL star plus and PLSQL, we have to collect the data, no doubt about it. But all this data we are collecting in Oracle, it has to be stored where? It has to be stored where? Come on. I was just covering this very recently. It should be stored in the form of table spaces. Okay, don't forget now. Okay, you're already into the process of technicalities, when slowly you have to remember now. You have to keep all this particular piece of the data in the construct of table spaces. Therefore, within your Oracle database, we have one separate logical environment that is recognized by Oracle database configuration, which is going to contain a collection of files, which will be containing collection of data files. So how many number of data files will be there? It depends upon your configurations and operations. And all this collection of data files, logically, they are binded into Oracle, which is basically called as a table space. Am I clear with you? So your table spaces are always under the control of the database administrators. Therefore, we have database see, especially Oracle. When you deal with Oracle, you have one of the view called as DBA's view. DBA view is different. Developer's view is different. Am I clear with you? A database administrator should know the entire development. Logic is not a rule, but a developer should know entire development logic plus some responsibilities that are done by the DBA. Be very clear about that. Therefore, as a developer, when you enter into industry, your initial level entry can have select small pay packages. But down the line, developers will always have scaling in their life, and they'll go on achieving higher positions with higher salaries as their expertise and experience is increasing. And this particular table space with all that collection of data files will be connected and communicated with the tables that are created by the developers. So you can have any number of tables according to necessity of your application. You have your criteria of other kind of objects like indexes. You can have your views. Views are called logical tables. So I can have any number of views as far as my application's necessity is demanding. I can have synonyms by requirement. I can have sequence like objects. I can have anything. So these all objects on the right side, what you're seeing, are actually developed by the developers. This is your developer's view. So sitting in my class, you are a developer. So you need to understand all those objects whenever I try to introduce, discuss, and develop them. But these all objects, they need space to store their data or not. So for that purpose, these all objects are connected and communicated to the table spaces. Okay, they are connected and they are communicated with the table spaces. So for any project in database management system softwares, in generic sense I'm speaking, especially if you're talking to Oracle, you have a database administrator team separately and a developers team separately. Before the developers can start developing their objects, the DBAs have to create the platform and they should keep it ready. Am I clear? But all this should happen without an operating system or with operating system. With OS. There's no compromise on this. You will please come along with me for the next few steps very, very carefully, man. Especially first time beginners, every point I'm speaking, you have to catch up. How best you're understanding, don't worry. But at least you should catch up, okay? You're technical, non-technical, computer science oriented, non-computer science oriented, that doesn't matter. But these things you have to definitely understand by at least the flow what I'm speaking. And later we have a great lot of work to be done on all these areas. So in your entire computer, what is that first software that is installed and configured? Operating system. Okay. So first we will install operating system within our computer and we will communicate with the OS. Do you agree with me? So if I want to communicate with OS, I need what? If I want to communicate with my OS and I want to do some work upon my OS, what I need? The minimum fundamental interface I need is a command prompt. Do you agree with me? I need a minimum command prompt. Whether it is your Linux OS or it's your Unix OS or it's your Windows or it's Mac. Finally, after your operating system is installed and configured, the basic fundamental communicative interface is a command prompt. Am I correct? So you will type your commands at your command prompt. Your command prompt will give the command to the OS, and then I think OS will be responding to you once again with the result. Is that flow is clear? Now, from the command prompt, we can execute how many commands at a time? Only one. Now, this particular command definitely should go and work on hardware. Do you agree with me? So this operating system is now extended internally because every command should do some work now. So these all commands internally within the operating system, they are nothing but they are called as system calls. Okay. These all commands are called as system calls. Where system calls are nothing but special kind of functions that are part of your operating system, which have the ability to communicate with another component in the OS that is basically nothing but called as your kernel or hardware abstraction layer. Okay. Within your OS, you have one special kind of software environment, which is called as a kernel or HAL. Be very clear. So any command you type at your command prompt, it is internally what? It is internally what? A system call. And the system call is going and communicating with what? A kernel or HAL. Now, can we do any work in real time with only one single command at a time? No. So we need a set of commands. Do you agree with me? So when I want to do my work upon my system with a set of commands where my command prompt cannot help me, therefore, every operating system generally will provide you the facility for writing the shell scripts, which are basically executed in a batch mode. Your shell scripts are nothing but they are special kind of files with a collection of operating system commands in a particular order of execution according to the necessity of the work what you want to complete. That is where many times you find your senior friends. If you contact your friends, they will say who are working in the industry. If you are learning your Oracle, it is also better you learn shell scripting with Linux or Unix also. Why they say is any good industry will expect an SQL developer to know definitely an operational state of the operating system commands and shell scripting standards. So the advantage of shell script is you'll keep all the required commands to complete your work into one single file, and then you'll send that file to your OS. OS will once again try to communicate with your system calls and then goes to the kernel. I mean, that flow is always the same. But shell scripts can only implement such kind of commands that are accepted by OS, but you cannot go and directly program anything at the OS level. It's not possible through shell scripts. But there may be some circumstances where my operating system is not giving me all the facilities what I'm expecting. If my operating system is not giving me all the facilities what I'm expecting, will I care that operating system for my real-time requirement? Definitely not. But you cannot expect every operating system to give you all the features and facilities you need. So majority of the companies which feel that their operating system is not giving the total criteria of the requirements what are essential to their standard of business, they cannot reject the OS, because if you reject this OS, other OS will give you the same facilities. What's the guarantee? In such a cases, those companies will have special kind of programmers, and these programmers, they can sit and write programming directly to the kernel. Okay, they are therefore they are called as kernel or system programmers, because these people, by using any language that is existing in the world, like C or C++ and Python like languages, they can write some instructions in their language by directly talking to system calls, and the system calls will go and talk to your kernel. So these kernel or system programmers, what they will do, they will enhance the features and facilities of your OS. Am I clear with you? They have that ability. But finally, all these activities we are doing to do some constructional work on the hardware. Do you agree with me? Now, upon the hardware, whenever we want to do any kind of operation, OS will operate everything in the construct of the data in the form of files only. Do you agree with me? So, your kernel on the other side is fundamentally extending to give you the file structures architecture of that OS. Means within this OS, how the files are managed, that particular architecture your OS will provide you, and only on that particular piece of the file structure architecture your kernel will communicate now. So kernel is always communicating with files. Am I clear? And these particular file structures, they are designed and defined according to the strategy of the OS man. Okay, whichever operating system you take, that operating system knows what file structure it has to follow. Let us not worry about that. But these all files which are containing data, they are expected to operate this data and store the data and retrieve the data in a hardware device called as hard disk. Do you agree with me? But how this particular hardware is getting controlled now? Therefore, your kernel will be connected to one special kind of controller called as IRQ controller, interrupt request controller. Now this interrupt request controller is nothing but a special kind of component on your operating system and your hardware, which has the ability to identify every device that is connected in your computer with its address. Therefore, whenever I want to do some operation on my hard disk, what I should do? I should hit this particular IRQ controller. Okay, I should hit this IRQ controller and tell the IRQ controller, please go and communicate with the hard drive. Then IRQ controller will know the address to the location where the hard drive is there, and it starts integrating to that particular controller where the hard drive is in control, and we call that as disk controller. We call it a disk controller, where this disk controller is specifically developed and designed by the hardware manufacturer of that hard disk. And this disk controller is actually communicating to your hard drive, where you're actually storing the data in the form of files with structures, with your sectors and tracks identified throughout the process. I gave you a very simple flow, man. For any computer you are operating, don't you think that irrespective of the type of operating system, this is minimum flow you need to communicate with your hardware? Am I correct? Hello? Now, if you say that you're working in your Oracle database, your Oracle database should work as per this particular architecture, or it can go against to this architecture. As per this architecture, it cannot go beyond that. Now the question is, if suppose I keep my data of my Oracle database in the file that is under the control of OS. Now, don't you think that using command prompt or shell scripts or kernel programming, anybody can touch the data directly from the OS itself? Yes. If that is happening, then I think Oracle could have lost its credibility long back. Do you agree with me? So what Oracle is doing, try to understand. Now, before I speak with you on the next level, I want one clarification from you. Oracle is a software or it is a database? What is your opinion? Oracle is a software or it is a database? So this is some controversy when people are speaking with one another. There are two things here. That's a very wonderful case. Oracle is a software by installation, and it becomes a database by configuration. Therefore, when you're trying to keep your Oracle on your machines, there are two steps in this. One is install Oracle as a software and then configure Oracle as a database. Am I clear with you? Therefore, on your machine, when you're installing your Oracle, what is happening? On your machine, whenever you're installing your Oracle, it will establish itself as its own private space of boundary by taking permission from the OS. It will put a request. Means when I'm going for installation of my Oracle software will first go and put a request to OS saying that I am a software getting ready to get installed. Please give me permission. So OS gives a permission. Once OS gives a permission, Oracle will try to create its own environment privately to its own boundary of control, which is called as Oracle database environment. Okay, Oracle database environment. Now, OS can have only one software or it can have any number of softwares installed and configured. Any number. Now, every software will try to communicate with OS or not. Then how OS knows this instruction is coming from Oracle, or this instruction is coming from Microsoft Word. So once your Oracle installation has started, it will always tries to put a request to your OS saying that please give me some communicative component for interacting with you. So your operating system will releases one component called as a port number. By default, this port number is 1521 for Oracle. Are you getting me? By default, this port number is 1521 for your Oracle. Be very, very clear about this. And this port number is connected for communicative privileges with OS. So any operation that is happening in Oracle database, if it has to be taken to the communicative state of the operating system, the only way you can communicate is via that particular port number. Therefore, whenever you put a request in Oracle, the request will carry this port number. Only when the request is coming through this port number, OS will understand that it is Oracle's request, and to that request, it will respond with only the data that is belonging to Oracle's database from the files exclusively belonging to Oracle database only. Therefore, if anybody is directly communicating to OS and you want to touch the files and the data of Oracle, is it possible now? Come on. No. Why? You are missing the port number. Okay. Without that port number, nobody can touch the data that is associated and registered and signatured by Oracle. That's how Oracle finally promises security. Now, to communicate with Oracle, what we need now? So your Oracle database environment, once it gets its port numbers, now it makes an arrangement or preparation with your table space with a collection of files. Now we said that table space is a logical storage unit, yes or no? So this table space is a logical storage unit behaving like a hard disk that is there on your particular computer. Am I clear with you? And this is technically connected. This is technically connected logically to that port number. Therefore, anytime you give any data to your table space will recognize the file in the operating system control and takes the data via the port number to that particular file. Therefore, within your Oracle, if you are storing the data, is it not? It is indirectly getting stored in your hardware directly via the OS. But for all this to happen, I think Oracle should provide some interface for us, for developers. So once your Oracle's installation and configuration is done, Oracle recognizes everything by a set of users who are created within the Oracle's environment. Means if you want to communicate with anything in Oracle, you have to make yourself get registered as one of the Oracle user. Either it is a default user given by Oracle or your DBA will create these users. Until you're not registered as a user in your Oracle database, you can never ever try to operate on your tables or the columns that are part of your tables, your logical tables like your views, your alternate names called as your synonyms, and technically anything that operates for sake of your unique continuous numerical generation that is done through sequences and to give you performance or optimization indexes. Means in Oracle database, it's a collection of different kinds of objects like table spaces, users, tables, columns, views. In this way, it's a collection of multiple different number of objects now. So if you're saying that you're learning your Oracle, don't you think that seriously you're trying to learn how these objects can be created and they can be maintained in an Oracle application project? Am I correct? And these all components, what you're seeing, if you want to operate and you want to utilize them for development of your application, then I think we need some kind of interface. And that interface, what Oracle is providing you, is a language called as SQL Star Plus. Are you understanding today why you should learn SQL Star Plus? Our agenda is getting clear now. If you don't learn your SQL Star Plus in a very proper way, can we communicate with Oracle database? No. When we cannot communicate with the Oracle database, can we operate on the objects in the Oracle database? No. Now, when you cannot operate on your objects of the Oracle database, can you really catch the data that is existing within your operating system via the table spaces? Is it possible? Never. So, to connect to this SQL Star Plus environment, Oracle provides you an interface that is generally called as SQL interface. So, are you understanding that connectivity and your responsibility in this entire course now? So, whenever I want to communicate with my Oracle using the SQL Star Plus statements or commands, I will first try to connect to my database. But when you want to connect to database, how Oracle database knows, are you an authenticated and authorized person or not? So for every time you want to communicate with Oracle, you need a proper username and password. So Oracle database has a set of data where all the users of Oracle are registered. Only when your name is part of that user's metadata internally, you can communicate with Oracle and you are given permission. But one user can do only one activity or multiple activities in Oracle. Multiple. Now, all the users are operating in Oracle database, but every user will be having his own privacy of information. Do you agree with me? Then how Oracle promises all this privacy now? So the moment an Oracle user is connected to Oracle, immediately Oracle creates one special kind of object called as a session. Okay. Upon every Oracle user who is getting connected, one session will be running. Every session is registered with one user ID and session ID. No two users' session IDs will be same. So the moment you gave your username and password and you got connected to Oracle, Oracle is immediately maintaining one session on your connectivity. So if 1,000 users are connected, how many session objects are there in Oracle? 1,000. Every session ID is unique by nature. Okay. But once you got your session, you can go and touch any particular tables and any columns or not. Yes or no? But you should not be given permission like that. So immediately after the session is created, Oracle will try to put you into a framework of its own privileges. Okay, Oracle has its own privilege management system in which your user ID and the object on which you are having permissions and what kind of permissions are there, that metadata will be separately managed. So whenever a user is requesting a table, only when that user is having permission to that table with this particular privilege management, then only he can go and talk to that particular table. Else Oracle says, sorry, you're not having privileges, you cannot operate. That's how Oracle protects every composition of the requirement. Am I clear with you? So to make all this activity successful and you want to get into industry and you want to give all the solutions, the only point you need to concentrate is what? Can you tell me? As a developer, the only point you need to concentrate is what? Can you tell me throughout the course? How best you can learn the language called as SQL Star Plus. Therefore, your negligence can always become a problem for you. Be very clear. In the initial classes itself, I'm telling you. Okay. From the beginning of the classes, from where I may start my SQL, point to point of everything you have to remember. whatever I say as per the application requirements. So the more stronger you are in SQL star plus, the more best you can work in your Oracle databases. So can anybody go and touch the data directly from the OS for the data that is actually developed and generated by Oracle database without connecting to Oracle's environment? Is it possible? No. So I want one answer from you. Physically, our data is where? Physically, our data is where actually? In the hard disk of OS. Logically, our data is where? Logically, our data is where? In the table space. In the table space. So in the entire Oracle database, what is that object you should highly protect and you should highly secure and you should see that it is not disturbed and damaged at any point of time? Which object? Table space. Suppose say like logically anytime you feel that, okay, logically anytime you feel that your table space is lost, is your physical data is lost or it's not lost? Come on. Your physical data is never lost. Your physical data is never, means within the operating system, the data is never lost. But can we access the data? No. Because your database is saying that it has lost the table space. Therefore, table space is the most important object within the entire Oracle database on which the database administrators will put major amount of focus and concentration to see that it is never damaged, disturbed, or corrupted. Now, if any time my table space is lost, see, any software can get corrupted any time, man. If my table space is, say, like corrupted or it's damaged or it's lost, now what is the responsibility of the DBA? What is the responsibility of the DBA? Understanding the previous application's architecture, you should have the ability to rebuild the table space once again. So the moment I rebuild my table spaces and the corresponding data files logically, my data will return back immediately or not? What a beautiful architecture on which we are about to work. And when you're working with your SQL statements and SQL command, nothing of this architecture will be visible to you. That's where many times I said, are you trying to learn your Oracle or are you trying to experience your Oracle? You decide that. So our entire compositional factor is only on the table space management. Your DBS will take care of that responsibility. You don't worry about that. As a developer, sir, what I should do? As a developer, your responsibility is to see that you're able to understand this part of the construct very effectively. Am I clear with you, gentlemen? So I think we are one step ahead to get into the criteria of understanding what Oracle database actually means. Now, taking further, I can definitely say now it's time for us to make ourselves technically more elaborative. So within your Oracle, what kind of table spaces are expected to exist at the time of installation and configuration? And these table space importance is what? Some basic idea you need to have now, okay? So tomorrow when I'm speaking with you, I'll take you into that particular construct. So slowly, I think I'm keeping my leg into my Oracle database on a practical side. Even though currently I'm in concepts, don't worry. Sir, exactly I want to know what is internal architecture of my table space. You don't worry about that, but just keep these things in your mind. That's enough. Because as you go on gaining your experience and your exposure, as my course is taking you, you'll get more details about it. But our entire course agenda is clear today. Okay. So let us see what's waiting for us in the next 24 hours to understand more conceptual information about table spaces. And before we leave, I want to make one point clear. From today onwards, every day your meeting link will change. So people who have given your mail IDs to us, for those people, we'll be sending the meeting link, and your meeting link will be released into your mailboxes exactly half an hour before the session. And only that meeting link you have to use. The previous meeting links will stop functioning now. Okay. For another few sessions, my YouTube live will be going on. If you have missed any of your link and it has not received, you can directly connect on YouTube and you can just look into it. So all the people are feeling that we are comfortable with you and this kind of frequency is looking good, and you can make yourself definitely get into IT industry if you are into the training process with us. Please start communicating with Srinivas and start making your slots permanent for these sessions. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Once again with you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Take care of yourself.